So if your Thomas now was you know, in an academy system, would you be saying to him, what's the point of going to one of the big clubs? Probably with the exception of Manchester United, because you get an opportunity there.
Yeah.
What's the point?
If you're good enough.
Yeah, if you're good enough. But I do think it's probably easier now to go abroad than it was in my time. I think when I went to Inter Milan, I was more experienced. I was 26, sorry. I took my wife, I took Thomas as a 5-year-old. But I didn't know the language. It was a different culture then. You know, it took me 6 months to learn Italian. So when you're there for the first 2-3 months, it's hard to fit in to the players, build that spirit with them. Nowadays, as a kids, because everyone speaks English, Germany and Holland and that, it's easy to fit into that. And I think that's important for these young kids, that it's not a language barrier for them to go and fit in.
What about Higuain? You know, you're telling me Chelsea haven't got a good young striker in the academy.
Tammy Abraham's scoring goals for Villa.
What's the point in being in Chelsea's academy? Because they just, when they're struggling, they just spend a load of money on a ready-made striker, Higuain.
So does that reflect well on the Premier League?
Well, it's money. At the end of the day, it's money. It's that much money for getting relegated. There's that much money for winning the big trophies. It all boils down to that.
I think the other thing about the foreign thing as well is, I'd love to have gone and played abroad, but there wasn't opportunities because they always look at when a foreign player comes into England. Now, if they get relegated with a club, often they'll move to a foreign team, they'll go to another league, and you think, how have they got that move? English players will generally just go down into the Championship or they'll recycle back into the Premier League. They don't get them opportunities for foreign clubs knocking on the door to say, well, we'll take the English players. There's a bit of a cloud around English players that they don't want to move abroad. I'd have loved the opportunity.
You did it, you know, being a Welshman, going to play for Galatasaray, Benfica, had a great time.
Yeah, I loved it. Totally different football. You know, normally I played with a partner. I don't think I ever played up front on my own till I was about 33. So I got into Galatasaray and they just keep the ball. I was making runs. I played with Hakan Suka. It took me 3 months to get a kick of the ball. I was just making runs and they wouldn't put the ball, they wouldn't pass it forward, they just go back the other way, back the other way.
Had they seen you in training, Dean?
Yeah, but eventually I adjusted my game to try and get involved in the game a bit more.
Did you have to just
What
show
was your Turkish like?
Well, my Turkish is all right, but it would have been a lot better if I was on my own. And a lot of the Turkish players could speak English. So they ended up in the dressing room, you end up speaking English.
Did you embrace the Italian culture when you went to Milan? Learn the language?
Yeah, I think you have to. I think that's the most important thing. You can't go there and not learn the language. You've got to fit into their culture and how they work. And Dino's probably right. The game in Italy was completely different to playing in the Premier League. It was very, very slow for the first 3 quarters, and then it was quick in the final third. And that made me a better player. You know, from being just... I mean, the first 2 months I played left wing. The manager thought I was a left winger for some reason. Ottavio Bianchi. He got sacked after 2 months, you know what I mean? But
just for that?
No, we did, just for that. Because we were losing games, and I said, listen, I said to one of my mates, Massimo Paganini, I said, tell them that I've spent 6 years at Man United playing centre midfield. Why am I playing left wing? We went to Torino, we got beat. The president came down at half-time, Massimo Moratti, said, listen, after this game, you're gone. And then Roy Hodgson came in, and then I started to improve, get better and play well, and that was it.
You look at the Man City Academy now, you know, not many make the first team, but I think they've made about 130, 150 million pounds selling youngsters who have been in their academy to clubs abroad.
It's a separate business. I think Chelsea's is a separate business on the side where they just say, well, we'll just get these players through. They're never going to play in the first team. We might get one, but we'll just sell them.
Well, if Hudson-Odoi is good enough to play for Bayern Munich and Sancho's good enough to play for Dortmund, and Dortmund could beat Spurs in the Champions League, Bayern Munich could beat Liverpool.
There's nothing to say he's going to start for Bayern Munich, though, is there?
No, there's not.
Yeah, but if you're talking the amount of money they're talking,
why
aren't they good enough?
He's not as good as Pedro, and he's not as good as Hazard at the moment.
Yeah,
Who would you play?
It's all about pathways, isn't it? And if you're a young player now and you're looking at things realistically, and you're looking at the top clubs, you know, or going abroad to get a game, then where are you going to go?